Let's roll out. What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolfbrother Mythos, and this is Wolfbrother Hobbies. Welcome to tonight's show. And yeah, it's Friday. It's a good night, guys. It hasn't been too hectic for me this week. There are definitely some shows where I'm just like, I need this show. But no, it's a good night tonight. It's been a good week. And I'm just happy to do some hobby this weekend. I've done some hobby this week. It's been so good to just be home for a full week. And so I have gotten in a bit of hobby. And, being home, I've been able to, you know, uh, make it to the gym as many times as, I normally do, which is cool. Yeah, so been able to do the things I wanted to do. I've been playing a little Fallout Vegas. I D&D'd last week. And I got in a game with Sonic Wave there in the chat. My man Zai. Hobby on the weekend is good. And I intend on... It's funny, I attempted twice to make plans this weekend. And unfortunately, both plans ended up falling through. So while that's unfortunate, I'm going to put some extra... My intention... Let's see how that goes. My intention is to put that extra time, at least a good chunk of that extra time, back to the hobby desk and get in some more hobbies. So we'll see how it goes. Gamers with Coffee. Fallout Vegas, good man. Yes, sir. Brother Greg, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. And Ashley, I'm sure she's with you as well. And Zai in the chat. Always good to see you, brother. And he is already starting on our main topic. He says, I can't believe Ghaz is crumping a Warhound on a 2+. That is just absolutely awesome. And he goes, I don't know what's more orky, wounding a Titan on 2s or an extra attack headbutt having precision so it can really just pick up and smash characters in the face. And both of those attacks, also his regular attacks and his headbutt, also have devastating wounds. So that means his head is so hard he can do mortal wounds with his headbutt. That is pretty cool. How are you all doing, Greg? It's funny. I know it is good for your channel and for your mental health that you do the show twice a month now instead of every week. But now I feel like I don't talk to you as much, even though, I'm only on the show once in a while and I'm mostly talking to you through your chat. I'm like, it feels like I'm talking to a friend less often. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Is there anything going on with you? Did you get a chance to get in any games this weekend? I got in a game last weekend with Zai. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first of all, you guys know I like to start with what is up, what you got for a poke chat. Just realized that my picture of the Emperor is not here. Huh. This is cool though. For my work area, my daughter made me my daughter's really good at crafting, and she made me a cool wolf mask for my hobby area, which I love. You'll notice the giant Gundam box that normally goes over in this area is gone. That's because I've got it up for sale on my eBay store, and I've actually made quite a few sales on the eBay store. That's pretty cool. I'm upset that Makari is now just a token as well. Kari is just a very cool figure. It seems a shame to put him on the tabletop and he's just a token. But also, Makari used to tank a ton of damage for me. And now he's no longer there to tank because Makari was a little goblin with only, low toughness, but he had a freaking 2-up invul save until he failed the first one, which is cool. His brother Steve from Who Took My Dice, much love for my family cottage, celebrating my anniversary this weekend. Everybody show Steve some love and wish him a happy anniversary there in the chat. Master, and this is Dice. Gamer's Coffee doing good. Excellent, excellent. Had to make sure I was here for our game recap. That's right, he had to keep me honest to make sure I don't tell you guys about how I just smoke showed the whole game. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Credit where it's due. Sonic Wave is an absolute masterful general, and I totally got my butt handed to me. But we'll get to that in a minute. Have you guys gotten in any hobby lately? I know Gamers with Coffee, they're doing extra games on the weekends now as part of their channel restructuring. Every other weekend they're streaming. Every other weekend they're doing games. Have y'all had a chance to paint anything? I'm not even going to read that one. I don't know if that's true to lore. Technically, Russ laughed. And as a sign of a cease in hostilities. And he put down his dukes, lying kind of cheap shot. I don't know if that's lore accurate. I'm not even going to read that, I know someone who has I should have taken some pictures. Oh man, missed opportunity. I took pictures of the game, and actually, I don't even know why I did not send those to the chat for tonight. To show off. I hate to be the streamer playing on his phone. I hope you guys will forgive me, but I would like to show you. I have ADD, and I stopped taking pictures after the first round. But I do have a couple pictures of our initial battlefield and what it looked like at the end. So, welcome home, ladies. So yeah, we'll definitely show some pictures there, but I don't have any close-ups. I want to talk about the hobby pork chop, what we've all been doing for hobby, and I got to say, not that Zai's painting was bad before, Sonic Wave's painting was bad before, but man, I was super impressed with how cool his miniatures looked. And when I say before, I mean that. I think Sonic Wave's last game, correct me if I'm wrong, my friend, was in 8th edition a long time ago, because we ended up losing our community spot we would all hang out and play at, and we got kind of soft booted out of the shop. So just the community kind of fell apart. So I haven't seen his army in absolute years, and just seeing his army, it looked really cool. It wasn't he plays Dark Angels, but it's his custom Dark Angels, right? It's his original chapter, and instead of the normal dark forest green that Dark Angels are, he uses the speed paint markers from Army Painter, and he would use his army is all Caribbean blue armor. With the what do they call it? The slap chop method. Prime it, dry brush it up for highlights, and he uses the speed paint markers over it. And that Caribbean blue armor over that slap chop looks really good. And for his, Dark Angels are famous for wearing a lot of hoods and robes, and his cloth is kind of lavender purpley color, and the army looks seriously good. Last game of 40K was in 2018, and over half my army was gray. True. 2018 was that 8th edition? I believe it was. I've never been able to be. Anytime somebody tells a story and they're like, the year was, and they name a random year from 20, 30 years ago, I could never be that guy. Especially like the older a person gets, and they're like, the year was, and I'm like, it was some time ago. I'm how like people are like landmark drivers. I'm a landmark. I tend to like associate that time period with what's going on at the time. So in this case, being able to think of what the edition was is a little easier for me than trying to remember like what year it was. I don't know when I did something last week. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, yeah, the other day when we were talking about, X, Y, and Z, and she's like, honey, that was 5 weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, the other day. With my ADD, time just kind of all flows together. A lot of people think time is a linear thing, but it's more of a wibbly wobbly, timey wimey thing. I had to check the last video for the Frosted Fist era I was involved with, the Imperial era. Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh man, that was a time period, man. We used to all meet up at the hobby shop every Friday, and like everybody at our Friday night open table would get involved with the Frosted Fist videos. It was cool. It was cool. And I think maybe like just that community vibe may like I also like the simplification of 8th edition, but I think also that vibe from that era when we were all just such a tight knit community at the store, that may also be giving me some rose tinted glasses for why 8th edition is my favorite. I understand time goes too fast. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. So anyway, so what I was saying is I don't have any pictures to show for it, but as far as hobby progress this week, big shout out to brother Sonic Wave there in the chat, brother Zai. His army is looking fantastic these days. For myself, I am like, I'm basically, like 99% done. Got my Gray Hunters done up. Got when you guys saw these guys last week, neither shoulder pad was done. They were just the basic blue shoulders. So both shoulders are painted and glued on. The freehand tiger striping on one side and the decal on the other. And it's really zoomed in on my bald head, so it doesn't want to pick up the mini. But yeah, oh, there we go. Oh, for like 1 second and then blurred out again. Okay, but yeah, so it won't focus, but the eyes are done, like all the metallics on the helmet. I've gone back and hit all the charms and stuff. So I'm really pleased. Even the basing is like mostly done. I'd need to do another dry brush highlight and put on the tufts. What's stopping me from just sealing this, putting on the snow and the snow flock and the tufts, is that I want to go back and do the extra step of adding some battle damage, like I did on my first Gray Hunters and my Blood Claws, and basically the other stuff I've done for my 11th edition army so far, or my newest batch of wolves. By that same token, my first squad of Gray Hunters, which I totally forgot to take with me to my game the other day. Thankfully, Zai was super cool about me substituting in my Blade Guard veterans as head takers. But yeah, they are all painted up too. But once again, I have delayed because it is so tedious and time consuming to me to go back and do the chipping and stuff like that. And always, I'm not super practiced at the chipping yet, and I'm always afraid I'm going to mess something up. So honestly, I need to get over myself and do it. But now I have, since I did 5 Gray Hunters that are ready to be finished, and 3 head takers. That means I have 8 minis that are ready to be finished this weekend. And I don't think he's here, but the reason I've wanted to get all of this off my table and just call it finished is because I owe from the Armageddon box, where 11th edition started over 2 months ago now. I had a wager whether the Vanguard veterans would be a 3 to 6 man or a 5 man. And our brother, friendly neighborhood Inquisitor, won that bet. And so now I need to paint one of his custom Marines, a Death Herald. And yes, and so I've got some conversion I'm going to do for that. And my plan, my intention, especially since I have some free time this weekend, is to use some of that hobby time and paint up and convert that Herald of Death. So I'm expecting it. It was super cool, brother. It was only fair since she let me proxy Eradicators and my heavy intercessors. Fair enough. Fair enough. Another thing is I got started. I think I showed you this guy when he was just primed black. So I have started on, of course, you know, with the color balance, it all just runs together as one solid layer blue, unfortunately, on the live stream camera. But I promise you, there's like 3 layers here of a darker blue, you know, the black, a darker blue, a mix of the a more transparent mix of the Pro-Acryl blue, and then a highlight of pure Pro-Acryl blue. And you can start see I've started doing a bunch of the underskeleton and the Gatling gun with all the lead belcher. And if you guys have ever painted any knights before, you know, doing all the mechanically bits is one of the more painstaking times, unless you start silver and working your way up, which a lot of people do. But I wanted to airbrush the armor color. So yeah. So with that, yeah, I'm just going in and doing all the lead belcher bits by hand. And I originally, you'll see some kind of like blue smears on the faceplate. That's because originally I airbrushed it blue like I do all my other knights, you know, just like the carapace armor. And then I noticed on, you know, I pull up GW reference pictures all the time, and I noticed on the Destriers, they all have silver faceplates. And I'm like, you know what, that would be really good to you know, make sure this really stands out for which version, you know, which model it is. Also, I've noticed all the Destriers, you know, are typically that I've seen with the artwork also have the little banner pole on the back. I decided not to put that on mine. You'll notice on almost all my armies, there's almost never a banner pole on someone's back because, you know, I just don't like the look in most cases. I did uncharacteristically put it on this Space Wolf Terminator Ancient that I've been working on. I did uncharacteristically put a banner on him, but that's only because I didn't have a pole long enough to do what I've done with the other banner bearers and just make it a full-sized, you know, banner pole that could be sticking in the ground, like behind him or something like that. And so I got impatient and just mounted it to his back. But typically, I almost never use back banners. So because of that, yeah, because of that, I decided not to use it on the Destrier either. So, which who knows, I may repurpose it for I may repurpose it for a piece of terrain or something. Mythos is a proud banner. I just don't think they're practical, on, you know, to be worn on a back. Even though that is, you know, there are references of that in like history and stuff like that, medieval times, samurai times. You know, having a harness, you know, where the banner bearer could wear it backpack style, and it run up their back. And while that's cool and all from a historical standpoint, I just don't find the aesthetics appealing, and I just feel like I would really be hindered if I were trying to run around and dive behind cover and do barrel rolls and fight in melee or power fists, going all punch mode on somebody, having a big old banner strapped to my back, it feels like it would be impractical. So now, granted, a knight's a vehicle, probably not the same case, but my dislike for banners even spreads to the knight. So I don't even usually on my knight army. In fact, I'm not sure if I have it on any of them. Do the banner hanging, from between the legs like a loincloth. So, anyways, that's just my thing, my hang up, I guess. Not really a fan of it. So, but I figured since I'm not going to put on the banner, at least doing the silver, saying all that to say, and this is me with my really roundabout stories. Since I decided I was not going to use the banner, I thought sticking to the GW style silver faceplate on the Destrier would do another good job of marking it out, for what it is. I really like this. Well, I on paper so far like the loadout of spear and the Gatling gun for the Destrier. It may not work out at all. I don't know. And I've decided to not magnetize this at all. These are super glued on because I just like the loadout. I think it's pretty cool. And I don't think I'm ever going to use the options. And it's funny because like I have my one Questoris Knight is magnetized, and I've basically had it Crusader style with double shooty weapons, Gatling gun, and thermal cannon since I started. Since my first night game with that knight as an ally in 8th edition, and I've never changed that. And I painted up every weapon for the knight. I've magnetized it, never did anything different, and so I've kind of just every night since then been like, this is the loadout I want. So all my armatures, I have 2 Warglaves and 1 Helverin, just glued in. They could be magnetized, but again, I just can't be bothered. And then typically I'll either save the bits for a conversion process someone else, or in a couple of instances I've had a friend that wanted to make a magnetize his knight, so I'm like, all right, he had an eBay knight, and so he bought his knights on eBay, so they came with a single loadout, and I just gave him my armature weapons. The meta loadout is going to change all the time anyways. Exactly, and that's what magnetizing is good for. When something is stronger in one edition, you can be like, I'm going to swap. But I'm a creature of habit. I know myself. I'm like, just like I used to magnetize all my dreadnoughts, and dreadnoughts don't even work this way anymore. But I used to magnetize all my dreadnoughts, and I never ever use anything other than twin las cannon and twin las cannon and power fist loadout. And so I had all these dreadnought bits that were painted up and magnetized, never got changed, just because I'm a creature of habit. I like my las cannons. Here, I think I'm gonna like my spear. The Gatling gun seems pretty cool. It seems like just basically a smaller version of the Questoris Gatling gun. So I think I'm gonna like it. It looks good on paper. I may play my first game with the Destrier and be like, man, I wish I'd gone with the other loadout. I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? So, anyways, me rambling on. Yeah, I'm just really pleased with the way my Destrier is coming along. And like I said, this is the last night I need to get my knight army up to 2,000 points. And hopefully I can get in a game with one of the guys. Like I said, a couple of my friends have already said they'd be down for playing against knights. Hopefully I can get into the game with them before, the next balance slate happens, and there's a change in points, and I'll probably have to watch something go up in points, and now my army's over 2K, and I got to adjust somewhere. Because knight armies are the hardest to adjust because everything is so expensive. You're like, no, something goes up just like a few points. You're like, I got to really swap around what I'm taking now. Okay. That I think is all my hobby progress. I mentioned playing some Fallout Vegas. I accidentally at some point locked myself out of my out of the NCR ending. I think it's because I did things out of order. I killed Caesar, and then went and killed House, and I had a quest from the NCR to kill House or deal with his house. But then the Securitrons were shooting people in the streets, and I didn't want the citizens of New Vegas to be, murdered. And so my solution to this was going over to the Yes Man. The Yes Man uploaded his consciousness to the one of the supercomputers and took control of the Securitron, so they stopped murdering people, which was great. But that counted as an interaction of me siding with the Yes Man and locked me out from the NCR ending. So it looks like I'm going the independent Vegas route. So, we're pivoting. Finally, I think I mentioned before, I'm on the last book of the Caiaphas Cain series. It is an anthology book, so it's a collection of short stories, and I'm enjoying those so far. One of the really fun things is that amongst the short story collection, there is a few of the short stories that are Jurgen solo adventures. And if you're not familiar with the series, Jurgen is the sidekick to Commissar Caiaphas Cain, and he is known as even though one could arguably say Jurgen is one of the main heroes of the story in some cases over the Commissar. But he's not what anyone would think of as the heroic type. He's definitely a sidekick in that he doesn't like to think for himself. He loves to adhere to protocols and orders and his faith in the Emperor. But he's the least prepossessing guardsman ever. He's the sloppiest. He has the worst hygiene. Jurgen's really the main character. Cain's just the narrator. You really could look at it that way. Cain is like the face of the duo. Jurgen gets a lot done in the background for sure, and Cain is the face of the dynamic duo. But yeah, so and also Jurgen has no initiative. Like I said, he has a blind mentality of following orders or protocol. And the way Commissar Cain puts it several times as he's narrating is that, if his last order to Jurgen was to wait for him somewhere, the man would literally wait at that location until he died, because that was the last order he was given. And so Bard and Barbarian D&D does be like, yeah, exactly. But and even though a lot of people think of him as a nothing, throwaway, annoying office Imperial Guardsman, nobody thinks of him as a hero. Most people recoil at him because he looks bad, he smells bad, he's sloppy, he's got no manners whatsoever. He is the kind of guy to just be out in public and stop and piss along the side of the wall. as he's done a few times in his adventures. He's just in public, like just doing his business. However, because that, everybody underestimates him, but he's like extremely good at what he does. Like his driving skills are like he can constantly drive through tight spots that have been described as having millimeters to spare on either side, and that's whether he's got a gravity car, a ground car, his their vehicle of choice most often is a Scout Salamander. He drives chimeras like that. The man is a driving genius. The man has been on like I'm sure everybody's seen a movie like this. One that comes to mind is The Witch, the Wardrobe, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where like there's a giant. In this case, it was a river in Witch in the Wardrobe, but in the case of the novel, it was a big lake of frozen water that was starting to melt, and the ice bodies were breaking apart. And Jurgen was able to drive from breaking up, like broken apart piece of solid ice to broken apart piece of solid ice, and navigate his way across the lake without collapsing into the lake. It's so cool. And the like he's extremely good driver, and he's an incredible marksman. Whereas like guardsmen in general are considered more than competent, right? We know that most guardsmen hit on a 4+, but and this is even reflected in his data sheet. Jurgen hits on a 2+. Jurgen is considered a master marksman, and almost never misses throughout the course of these novels. It is very cool. But everybody's perception of him is that he's the worst guardsman, right? It's very interesting. My favorite theory is that Jurgen isn't actually that unhygienic, and most people's perception of this hygiene is actually a result of him being a blank. I mean, while that's possible, there are other associations where you could infer his hygiene is probably pretty bad too, where because like Commissar Kane describes his living conditions and stuff like that as squalor and stuff like that all the time. Like he keeps commissars, like, okay, for instance, there's many times where they have connecting bedrooms because Jurgen is not only his sidekick, he's also his aide as a commissar. And they're connecting bedrooms. Jurgen will keep the commissar's bedroom absolutely immaculate. But in his own bedroom, there's like rotting food everywhere. There's trash on the floors. There's, their form of adult entertainment. They call them porno slates everywhere, which is interesting to me because like the word slate to me makes me think it's a digital tablet, but he has multiple of these porno slates everywhere. Just can you imagine just iPads of adult entertainment sprawled all over everywhere? And he's always got like pouches all over him, like festooned over his body. And I just imagine he's just got like multiple iPads, data slates, just full memory banks full of porn all the time. It's kind of hilarious. But yeah, so like the sloppiness in his own room compared to how cleanly he keeps the commissar's quarters is like, I think that kind of lifestyle in his own room to me does kind of signal if that's how he takes care of his quarters, maybe his own hygiene is that bad, like if you leave rotting food around your quarters, maybe you also don't take the time to clean yourself up and stuff like that. So, but it is a good theory. I'm not debunking it. It's just I believe that my personal opinion that there's evidence to the contrary. I'm not saying you're got perfect hygiene, just more of a noted chronic halitosis and miasma, more accentuated by being a plague. That is quite possible for sure. Like maybe the almost supernatural smell. People think of him, his miasma, and the halitosis is, yeah, I can see that just being people's way of perceiving that psychic discomfort from him. Or at least, maybe it's a little column A, a little column B. Maybe that psychic discomfort magnifies those things to people, right? And so you're right. Like maybe it's not as bad, but it's magnified. All right, moving on to the next thing before we get to the orcs. Like I said, I had my first game of 11th with Zai, Brother Sonic Wave there in the chat. And just to say it plain out, I got my ass handed to me. It's funny because I was like, Brother Zai hasn't played since 8th edition. This will probably be just a good slobber knocker. We'll probably just, beat each other up, and the points will probably be somewhere close. And, it probably won't be super tactically heavy, but it'll be a fun time. And I was wrong. Brother Zai definitely knew what he was about and came back with some modern 10th, 11th edition tactics that, blew me right off the table. I will see. So you can see here, I had 2 Warglaives, Rep X. I rolled to go first, which I really dislike doing as a melee army. But there's some really cool stuff here. This Land Raider is full of a 10-man Stern Guard with a Librarian. Everybody's Gangster till Hellblasters and Melt Eradicators deep strike into your backline. Oh, hell yeah. And here is a 6-man squad of Inner Circle Companions, also with a Librarian. He was running the Librarius Conclave. That's why there's, several. And this man, okay, so the Librarians with the Stern Guard were a pretty pimp move because, like, I had, I knew in theory about the devastating wounds that Stern Guard could do, but seeing it in action is like, why aren't I doing this? So definitely that was something to learn. Like, it definitely would be a strategy for me to incorporate into my own Ultramarines, maybe even my White Scars / Raven Wing. And then over here, this is another thing he taught me. It's all gravy, my friend. With you mentioning how busy you were last weekend, I assume that unless I hear from you specifically that you'll be joining me, that, your new busyness with the new job and, the pregnancy of, your lovely lady, that, you've got a lot going on. And unless I hear from you specifically that you'll make it, that's the only time I'll plan on it. But yeah, you're good, brother. I don't expect you to commit more than you can give, brother. Lots of love, and if you're not home, I hope wherever you are, you stay safe and have a great weekend, my brother. Here is another tactic that Brother Zai taught me that, again, it could be something for me to learn and incorporate maybe into another one of my Marine armies. This man here has taken, of course, brother, of course, has taken the humble 10-man Intercessor squad. Most people only take 5 Intercessors to, for sticky, like literally, and that's what I've got going on over here. 5-man Intercessors for sticky objectives and nothing else. But he's got a 10-man squad over here, and I'm like, okay, you've got some action heroes over here. He's like, oh, they're not there for capturing objectives or doing actions. This is a Death Star. And what I learned about this squad, I got to see it in action. We'll cover that here in a minute. So Azrael gives this squad sustained hits. right? Sustained, if I'm correct. And he had a lieutenant. So he had the chapter master Azrael here. He had a lieutenant with a squad and 10 intercessors. And that is at the double tap range, that is 40 shots with lethal hits, AP1, and sustained hits. And both times he rolled this, got more hits than he initially rolled. It was amazing. And you corporate, so that means every 6 to hit is both lethal, so you get one that auto wounds, and sustained, so that way it puts another dice in the wound pool. So yeah, it was amazing. It just it racked up so many hits and wounds, and it was very good. So I never even imagined the Humble Intercessor Squad could be used as an absolute gun line. So that was really cool to see. I definitely did some learning. And then he had heavy eradicators with heavy bolters here and here, and his Melta squad of eradicators and his Hellblasters were still in reserve, as well as some Deathwing Knights. I'm going to show you some more pictures of the battlefield, but I really feel like this overview here is kind of good. Like I said, I totally spaced out and didn't take pictures throughout the game. I was just excited to play, and I was trying to remember and learn all the new 11th edition changes. 40 shots, strength 4, AP 1, damage 1, sustained hits, lethal hits is deceptively disruptive. It really is. I was really, I was going to say blown away, like as in very surprised, but also I was like also blown away damage wise by his guns. So it was absolutely incredible. I was very surprised how good that combo could be. The eradicators with heavy bolters were also pretty good. I have some of those for my White Scars army. At least I think I'll put them in my White Scars army. I haven't been sure about where I'm going to put them yet, but I'm thinking the White Scars army. So looking forward to painting those up at some point. But yeah, and so turn 1, I pushed up to the terrain here, so that way I could tow into the terrain and shoot into his stuff here. And I did the same with my Rep-X. Those who don't know, Rep-X is short for Repulsor Executioner. It's considered a very good Space Marine anti-tank gun. And so I pushed up into the center terrain, and I whiffed hard. All of the shots from the thermal spear missed. That was a very hard whiff. I used a heavy stubber, and I put, I think, 1 wound on his inner circle companion. I'm sorry, no, heavy stubber is on my Helverin. The Warglaives have a regular Melta. So I think I put some wounds on inner circle companion. I pushed up into the middle with the Rep-X. I only hit with one of the Rep-X tank shots, and I think I did something small like 4 damage because I whiffed another one of those shots. I very foolishly said, okay, I've got a total of like, with the missiles and the cannon and the thermal spear, I was like, I've got a total of at least 6 anti-tank shots going into this. I said, for some reason, I'm just going to roll that flat. Silly mythos. And I put my Oath of Moment on the inner circle companions, so that way all of this, small arms could helpfully, dwindle them down. That was silly. I ended up whiffing 3, those 3 shots, and I don't think I did very well with I don't think I got any wounds with the missile either. I did take a few wounds off I took like 4 wounds off with the main cannon, and I put a couple of wounds off with the Gatling cannon, but for the most part, whiffed into here. And I did some damage to the inner circle companions. And that was it for turn 1, because I was trying not to overexpose myself with Bjorn and the Vendread, and I was trying to keep my everything. I was trying to, because he had so much in deep strike, I was trying not to overexpose my backline. And that, unfortunately, that hesitation also, I think, possibly contributed to the downfall. So, anyways, so he goes turn one, and I got to learn an amazing combo with Oath of Moment and his Librarian, which librarians, if you're not familiar with psychic attacks do mortal wounds. And Stern Guard have the ability for devastating wounds. And overall, I had 14 mortal wounds dealt to my Repulsor Executioner. And the Hunter Killer Missile did like 2 wounds. And the very last wound came off from, which was also a devastating wound, from a assault cannon on the Land Raider. Flamestorm cannons actually went really well into the Dreadnought. I mean, into the Helverin, and it got down to like, I think, 2 wounds, and then the Inner Circle companions charged in and destroyed it. Plus a stratagem to give them sustained 1. That's what it was. So yeah, so between the sustained hits, just 14 devastating wounds is crazy. With the Stern Guard and the Librarian, not just them by themselves, but still, that's a great combo. And then with the Flamestorm cannons from the Land Raider and the charge for the Inner Circle companions, I lost all of this turn 1. And then on top of that, the Repex exploded, dealing mortal wounds to everything but the Armiger and the Impulsor here. Oh man, I lost a good chunk of my army turn 1. I think if you factor in the parts of the other squads that went down, I lost over 500 points turn 1. It was pretty crazy. Oh man. So after that, honestly, the rest of the game was just mopping up. Mr. Fish, happy freaking Friday. Wow. And you picked a good time to show up, because after I finish recapping my first game of 11th, we're going to start talking about the orc changes, my brother. Or the orc previews, rather. Here's some other shots of deployment. So you can see, actually, you can kind of see a little bit of his color scheme here. Like I said, that Caribbean blue looks really good. And then I love the white helmets against that Caribbean blue armor scheme. It actually, even from a distance, like really stands out nicely. And you can see he's got the classic red helmet on the Psyker over here, the Librarian. So, like I said, his army looked really good. Talking about how good we eat, and absolutely. And this was my corner, although I think the other picture, pretty much showed everything. The only other thing I had is I had a drop pod with the Blood Claws and Ragnar in it, and also my Terminators, my Wolfguard Terminators were in Deep Strike as well. So that's why it looks a little light on my side. But yeah. So yeah, just kind of a close-up of the armies meeting in the middle. And of course, we had that kind of catty corner, in the middle, diagonal. For some reason, it's been like 5 or 6 games in a row now that I've rolled the diagonal deployment in my games. I don't know why. Okay. This was just a zoom in of this fight, which was ridiculous. Okay, so this is the Death Star blob I was telling you about, where his intercessors were led by Chapter Master Azrael and a Primaris Lieutenant against my Blood Claws and Ragnar. And before this charge happened, I drop potted down, and they popped out of the drop pod, and uh, he used his Overwatch on this. Remember that combo we talked about earlier with the sustained lethal hits? So on Overwatch, you're only hitting on sixes, but that means every hit he hit on Overwatch was both lethal and sustained. So there was, turns out, even hitting on sixes, totally not Cypher, guys, just a normal lieutenant. That's what Cypher does, is he blends in. Yo, good to see you. Glad to catch this live while I paint. I'm glad to have you here, my friend. What you painting? I have been painting. I got 5 more Gray Hunters painted up this week, and I made a start on my Knight Destrier for my Imperial Knight Army. So, like I said, his Overwatch, every 40 shots, every shot had sustained and lethal, and on just Overwatch, I lost half of the squad before he charged. That was crazy. And then, because I said, man, because when I dropped the drop pod, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for a classic, Ragnar versus Azrael match. And so he did the gentlemanly thing and did not shoot into this squad. He moved up Azrael and charged in, and man, Ragnar immediately got precisioned out. And I think the squad, by the end of this combat, dropped to like, I think 4 regular guys. So yeah, it was pretty brutal. Only 20 shots in Overwatch. I couldn't use the extra shots ability. Oh, okay. I misremembered. For some reason, I thought that they were in rapid fire range. From being just drop potting 8 inches away. Right? Wouldn't they have more than 20 shots? Painting some Age of Sigmar. Nice. So yeah, you guys saw where I got crumped in the middle. You see here where I dropped down, immediately got crumped on his corner. One other thing I wanted to show is back here where his dice tray is. He dropped down some Melty Eradicators because this was my beacon unit, and he dropped down and just Eradicators are very good anti-tank, and just blew this up. For some reason, I always thought, and maybe it was a previous edition, I thought bolt rifles always had rapid fire. Maybe I'm thinking of a previous edition. But yeah, the Eradicators blew up this Impulsor. The Impulsor did have a battle leader and head takers. There were some jump pack intercessors over here behind this building. So during my second turn, I did move up, and the head takers, this was their quarry unit, the jump pack intercessors. And so they did manage to kill off the jump pack intercessors. I did get to do something during this game. And then he had a Hellblaster. Oh, also I had a not Tech Marine, an Iron Priest down here, giving it was giving the Rep-X extra shots till he died. He moved over to support Bjorn later. The Hellblasters dropped down and immediately just murdered the Tech Priest, and then the Knights showed up and finished wiping out my back line over here. This Warglaive did make it into combat with the Inner Circle companions and got finished off by the Librarian. And then I don't even remember what killed these. Zai probably remembers. Yeah, but so I was absolutely decimated by the end of turn 2, and by then the shop was closing. But yeah, I think this was still alive actually, and Bjorn might have still been around. I had very little left by the time turn 3 started, though. It was very, very much over. I think, like I said, I had killed, I think, the inner circle bodyguard and one squad of intercessors, and he had the rest of his army. And I was down to, I think, 2 dreadnoughts and these aggressors, and 4 guys in the corner. So I was down to virtually nothing in just 2 turns, guys. That was quite the butt whooping. Okay, yeah, the dreads didn't die. Okay, so yeah, I was down to bare bones, and he still had most of his army. That was quite the butt whooping. I imagine if we'd made it turn 3, he would have tabled me turn 3. That's how confident I am of how outmatched I was. It was good. It was good. Like, it was definitely a lot I learned. Like I said, I learned how the intercessors could be comboed into an actual threat, whereas most people just use them as an MSU objective holder for their sticky objectives. I definitely learned the value that could be had with the Stern Guard. And the reason why the Librarian was really good with them is because not only was he doing mortal wounds of his own, he also had given the squad a 4-up invul save, which, taking a squishy unit and giving them an invul save is very good. So, and then of course, like this whole side of the board here all had invul saves because there was 2 librarians here, and Azrael gives this squad an invul save. So they were a very durable army, as well as doing a lot of damage. So, like I said, it was a very well-crafted army list. So, kudos again to Brother Zai. Just a very, very good understanding of the tactics of the current edition and good generalship. While I'm over here, we might as well go on to our articles. Before we go into the articles, quick shout out to our channels of the week. And for the channels of the week this week, I've picked a Kit Bash channel. You guys, most of you know, this year I've really been into Kit Bash channels, and this one was pretty cool. I've been watching this one for a few months now. You'll see a bunch of red lines for completed videos, but so lots of converted stuff here. Canticles of Crafting is it. Again, all of my channels of the week are always in the link down below. Stern Guard also had the ability to pack back up into the Land Raider if I got too close in the movement phase. That's right. So in addition to their invul save, being able to just jump back in a Land Raider and put that T12 armor between them and any danger is also a very survivable unit. So yeah, he does some unit reviews where he talks about the model kit and builds them as some of his videos. Lots of kit bash stuff. One thing he really does some good kit bashing on, he is working on a Deathwatch army, or working on Deathwatch models. And so he really puts a lot of character into crafting different Deathwatch miniatures. Some of them, like this Black Shield, are made from the Red Corsairs box. Some of them are made from the brand new Armageddon box. But one thing you'll see that he does, whereas there's a lot of people who are like, I love all the Primera stuff, I just use the Primera stuff. Some people are like, yeah, I use Primera stuff because I have to. Firstborn all the way is what I want. He is a big fan of blending the two for the character that comes with Firstborn models and using those bits to kind of, kit bash with, Primaris models. And so, especially when he's doing some doing some specific flavor things, like he's adding some of the old kill team parts for making his with the Armageddon box and with the Red Corsairs here to make his Deathwatch characters. But also, like, one of them was a Space Wolf captain he made. wherever that video was. And so he uses the old out of print Space Wolves box for that. He's, as you can see here, he's like, this is 218 Kit Bash bits, parts for Kit Bash opportunity. Review the Kythus Kane miniatures. But yeah, so really fun Kit Bash channel, and I've really just been watching him Kit Bash stuff and adding a lot of character into you know, his miniatures. So check them out, link in the description below. I'm all about Gravis. I wish we had more unit characters for them in non-compliant chapters. I too love Gravis. That's why I run like 6 aggressors in my Ultramarines list, just because I love the look of Gravis. I run the Gravis Marnius Calgar because I prefer the way he looks over the Terminator 1. And I also wish that there were... Oh, we can't see the channel. My bad. I forgot. Man, I'm just sitting here running my... Thank you for letting me know. I'm just sitting here running my mouth, assuming you guys can see everything. But I have to come over here and hit the replace button and move over to Canticles of Crafting. Thank you for catching that. So this is the channel, Canticles of Crafting. And that's what I was mentioning. Sometimes he does reviewing of box sets and build stuff as he talks about reviewing the boxes, which is pretty cool. His Kit Bash stuff, like here, Red Corsair Death Watch guy, Imperial Fist, Blood Angels, and like I said, he often, like if you take a look at this one, this is from the Kill Team, the old school Kill Team box. Also, like here, where basically he's just using the Space Wolves box for kit bashing with, you know, adding some Space Wolves flavor to Primaris models. So, very cool channel. I definitely recommend checking it out. Like I said, I've really been into kit bash channels this year. Maybe it's because I plan on doing a bunch of kit bashing for my Iron Warriors. Hugs for loyalists. So definitely recommend him. Check him out in the description. Still in the Facebook Messenger screen. Oh, okay. Wait. No, it's there now. I see it on the screen. Good, good. I was worried there for a second. All right. The next channel I'm going to take a look at. Last week we took a look at Katie Plays 40K. You know, her solo adventure after leaving Tabletop Tactics, and before she left Tabletop Tactics, Chaos Lord Beard left Tabletop Tactics. So we're going to take a look at his channel as well. I like Tabletop Tactics as far as battle report channels, and I'm going to admit I have watched some of his newer content, but I haven't watched as much as I would like. But definitely, from what I have watched, you know, I mean, I've always liked Beard's personality on Tabletop Tactics, and he's got some good videos. This one has always been tricky, transplanting Warhammer weapons. Man, sometimes you're just like, oh, why are there no left-handed, right-handed blank options? You know, whether it's a sword, whether it's your pistol. They can be frustrating to get the weapon you want for whatever hand you want. Admittedly, he does have quite a few on his members only, which, you know, is definitely good, you know,
good that he is putting out quite a bit of content for people that support him. But yes, like I said, it's fun personality. I always enjoy watching him, whether it's on Tabletop Tactics or when I'm watching one of his solo videos. So definitely check him out in the description. Just a cool personality in the hobby. And maybe I am a little bit biased because the Chaos Army he plays is Iron Warriors. All right, now we move on to the orcs. The orcs. We shall once again hit the replace button. Bigger, tougher Ghaz. So the vibe of this so far, before we jump into the article, is that Ghaz is now going to take on an equivalent role to an Imperial Primarch. That is the vibe that's going on here. And if you compare him to a, like, as far as the way he operates, but he's definitely, if you compare him to a Primarch, he definitely is going to be one of the strongest one. Brother Garrett, orcs. Now, the rumors are circulating, Garrett, my man, that this is the edition for Primaris Grey Knights. There are whispers in the warp. Orcs large and small will be getting new rules in their upcoming codex, so we're going to have a look at a few new data sheets, starting with the big cheese, Ghazgul Thraka. All right, so we saw Nazdrag last month. Let's take a look at how beefy Ghaz is going to get this with this new codex. I'm telling you, he's an absolute beast. Yeah, definitely about time, brother. All right. So he was down to a 5 or 6 inch movement. That way, because he was in a squad of Mega Knobs before, and so they kind of reined in his movement to go with the Mega Knobs before. But now he's got an 8 inch movement. You know, he's bigger, he moves faster. He still has the infantry keyword, so he's going to be able to Kool-Aid through walls, no problem. And then big old beef up to his toughness. I remember I was so mad when they dropped him to toughness 6 because he was vulnerable to basically everything: plasma, autocannons, assault cannons. I mean, he was much more vulnerable at toughness 6. Darklight Dreamer, good to see you, my brother. Man, this man is working hard. He is on 20, I want to say 20 something days straight. I've not been able to hang out with him because he's been having to work so many back-to-back days. I had plans with him to hang out with him this weekend, unfortunately, but now he's got to work again. That's a hard-working man. So shout out to Darklight. So toughness 10, that is a massive boost in toughness. That means all but the strongest weapons are going to be wounding him on 5s unless you have like a +1 to wound ability. You know, thunder hammers are wounding him on 5s. Auto cannons are wounding him on 5s. You know, plasmas are wounding him on 5s. Melts are wounding him on 5s. Much, much stronger. Now, got his 2 up, 4 up. He's got 16 beefy wounds now. And, of course, he's got an OC4. Now, here are some really cool adjustments here on this data sheet. Okay. Let's see how well this zoom in looks on the screen here. I really zoom in for you guys? No, not really. Okay, well, we'll go with what we can, and I'll read out what I need to. All right, so the Mork's Roar, his weapon, is still 12 shots at 36 range. Strength 6, -1 AP, -1 AP, 1 damage. Of course, being Orcs, he's hitting on 5s, so he's not going to shoot very accurately very often. But he has a new profile. He has the point blank option for when you're firing him close quarters in combat, basically. Not during the combat phase, but if you're in engagement range and it comes back around to his turn, you know how most people can pull out pistols and shoot them in the shooting phase while they're in combat. Well, he's going to pull out this big old Mork's Roar, and he gets a torrent auto hit. He can't miss with those big 4 cannons close range now. He cannot miss. You're going to roll 2d6 plus 2 auto hits in combat. So now this really gives his shooting profile more teeth if he doesn't kill whatever he needs to on the charge. If he lasts, if the other person doesn't back away, he's going to be able to shoot them in combat for a torrent of damage. Because it's torrent, he doesn't need a ballistic skill. It'll still be strength 6 -1 AP, 1 damage though. But that is absolutely awesome shooting now. And there's definitely, you're not going to be able to use light infantry to tie him up in combat, because there's a good chance he'll be able to just shoot them in combat if they're like something small, guardsmen, gaunts, Eldar, other people's Gretchen. You'll be able to shoot through them and just move on to the combat phase. Hey, I hope so, brother. I hope so. I'm not going to speak it. I don't want to jinx it, but I hope you get it, brother. All right, so that is a glow up on his shooting profile with that point blank weapon. And I can just imagine having 4 massive cannons in close quarters rattling away like that. That would be like, auto hitting, basically. But then we are moving on to his melee weapons. The Gork's Claw. First of all, cleave 2, which is beautiful. So that means every 5 models you're in combat with, he's going to get 2 extra attacks, which is awesome. And he's got devastating wounds. So the 7 attacks with the claw, hitting on 2s, strength 14. So even land raiders and knights, he will be wounding on 2s. -3 AP, 4 damage, and he's got an extra attack called Adamantine Headbutt, and it's also devastating wounds. It is an extra attack. It is precision. That means I can just imagine him basically using that massive claw to pick up your hero character and headbutt them with a precision hit, which that headbutt is also hitting on 2s. Strength 14, -2 AP, D3 plus 3 damage with precision. He is going to absolutely smash your hero out of your unit. You're not actually getting hit with the shells in point blank. You're getting toasted by the muzzle flare. All right. So, just like the Primarch's first ability is just like an Imperial Primarch. If he's within 3 of another friendly unit, he has the Lone Operative ability, which is great. Although if somebody's within 12, he'll be able to be attacked anyways. But he has a beefier profile now. And then he's got an ability called Makari Hoist That Banner. It's a once per battle ability. Now, this for me is the most disappointing part of this glow up. Don't get me wrong. Let me rephrase that. The only disappointing part of this glow up, because I love everything else about the new data sheet. And I can understand why this has been changed. But let me read it out before I talk about how it's changed. I'll come to that in a second, Mr. Fish, just because that's the same point I was going to make. All right, so Makari, in your invulnerable phase, you could select a number of friendly orcs units equal to or less than the current battle round number. Those units are riled up to the start of your next turn. And as we go through the rules here between the three articles, we'll be able to pick out what riled up means. And then Prophet of the Great Wa. While a friendly orcs unit is within 6 of this unit, that unit's melee attacks have +1 to hit, +1 to wound. So this is going back to 8th edition style aura abilities, which I love. Plus to hit, plus to wound. I love it. That is going to just be not only a huge threat as in himself, but it's also going to be a huge force multiplier. And of course, you're going to want to keep him other units close by because of that, lone operative ability. But also, he's just going to riled up as just Wa. Okay, thank you. So that means you can early in the game call your Wa, and then you can do this. Have Makari pick a number of units and do it again. You're going to get more increased survivability from the invul save you get in the Wa, having that around for multiple turns, and you're going to be able to just take those number of units and just basically do it all over again. So you're, again, just like the prophecy of the Wa, the Prophet of the Wa, just huge multiplier ability here. Now, where this disappoints me, an extra round of Wa for a number of extra units is cool. Okay, but first of all, Makari was a cool unit because he had his manners, his model looks great. It is a great. Okay, goes back to where I normally don't like banner characters. For some reason, I love Makari. Makari is a cool banner character. There are a couple, and there's always people holding a banner that I like. I do like a couple of banners, but it's people holding the banner that I like. Makari holding one is one, and then there's a Black Templar Ancient, I think, where the banner he's holding is basically on top of the flag is a big orc skull, which I thought is cool. It's like the face of the banner. Those are cool, but there are people holding banners. Anyways, that aside, Makari is a great looking model, but also I have a lot of fun memories of Makari tanking up an unrealistic number of hits on his 2-up invul save. He used to have an ability that until he fails his first save, he has a 2-up invul, and after that, he's just dead. And it was called Suspiciously Unlucky. And also, he had a special stabber, this little dagger he would have on him, tiny little knife that would some reason deal devastating wounds. And I have, on multiple occasions, my old friend, that I used to be friends with the other channel host, Freak, and I have a lot of fun memories of tanking an unrealistic number of wounds from like one of his powerful captains or something on that 2-up invul save, and then just turning around and devastating wound, his character to death, and then even charging with Makari after Ghaz has been killed and stabbing like a tank or something to death with his devastating wounds. Just ding, ding, ding. Hilarious. So yeah, these are some pretty cool abilities. Now, what this means with this Prophecy of the Wa, Ghaz himself is always a friendly orc unit within 6, right? So his Strength 14 claws are getting extra value. My record was tanking that 2-up invul save 27 times in a single round. That's cool. no Makari intervals, and cheeky pistol, but so much more damage potential. Exactly, exactly. I'm going to miss having the Makari model, which you don't even really need to use him now. There's really no reason to put him on the table since it's just a once per game ability. He's just a token now. The model isn't actually there on the table. It's kind of he's to me such too cool of a model, too much character of a model to be a token, which is kind of disappointing to me. I understand they made his profile so much beefier in his own right that they had to take away that 2-up invul. But that to me definitely loses a lot of that fun factor of Makari. And like I said, it's a cool model, and there's really no reason to put him on the table anymore. I wish they had just changed the ability. Give him the same ability, or whatever, but leave Makari on the table. Let him do an extra little chip damage. Now, what Zai was saying earlier about Ghaz being able to wound a Warhound on 2s is that massive strength 14. I think Warhound is 13, right? So you're going to be wounding on 3s with this strength 14, and then you pop his Prophets of the Wall, getting that +1 to wound. You're going to be wounding it on 2s all of a sudden. And then on top of that, if there's any ability that has something, he already hits natively on a 2+. But if for any reason somebody has like a -1 to hit in melee, his own ability will proc, and he'll still be hitting on 2. So super, super strong. T13, I checked when I saw the stats. Okay, confirmed, toughness 13. So Ghazghul is going to be an absolute beast. I actually sat out my orcs for the last edition because I was so focused on playing my Custodies. And I still want to play Custodies, because Custodies have definitely risen to be one of my favorite armies. But definitely, this is exciting me. Part of why I didn't play my orcs is not only because I was focusing on my Custodies, but I felt like Ghazghul going from a literal monster in 9th edition, and then 10th, he was just a squad leader, right? A captain for his Mega Knobs, I thought was just kind of jobbing him out. It wasn't what I wanted and what I wanted from Ghazghul. This seems like the proper independent monster, but not a monster because he's got the infantry keyword. The proper monster that he was in 9th edition, and it might be time to put some greenskins back on the table. Of course, the new sheet for the boys is out. Of course, I love any number. Let's see. For every 10 models, you can have a big shooter, a rocket, and a burner. So that means there's so much more shooting ability. I'm going to say ability in the orcs. Now, they all still hit on 5s. If there's any terrain in the way or there's any cover, they're going to be hitting on 6s. So you're not really going to hit except for with the Scorcher. But it is cool that they have the ability to use both, rocket, shooter, and burner in each squad of 10. And you don't have to give up before, if you were to take any of the special weapons, you lose out on the chopper. Now you always get the chopper. Plus, you always get both the shooter profile and the chopper profile. So it's nice. It's real nice. The stats here are the same as they used to be, except for knobs get 1 more wound now, which is cool. Ammo runts once per battle in your shooting phase. When this is selected to shoot, you can use this ability, and you have +1 to hit roll. So having all this extra shooting now, having the ability to hit on 4s, it's nice. Temporarily turns you into unbuffed guards. Tide of Muscle, charge move. Anytime you make a charge, they have lethal hits. Huh. Sounds like that'll be redundant in a Goff's list unless they change that rule. Never too busy to fight. Okay, so even if they're doing an action, they can still be in combat and do an action, which is cool. That's a pretty cool ability. You know, that used to keep me from doing actions with these models because, you know, I was afraid of missing out on their melee. Have a great night, Gamers with Coffee. And you and Ashley have a wonderful night. Have a great weekend. Oh, being infantry means Ghaz can benefit from hidden as well. You can move him up the table and not have to worry about getting shot if you stay in the terrain. That's cool. Oh, also another big buff I didn't mention earlier, having lethal hits against anything that's not a monster or vehicle. That's pretty cool. So whether it's infantry, whether it's bikes, you know, whether it's cavalry, you know, they're going to be hitting harder, which is cool. So, big change here. Everybody is saying this is going to be how torrent weapons work throughout this edition. So far, we've only seen it on orcs. So I don't know if this is going to be an orcs thing or if this is going to be flamer weapons throughout the edition. But take a look here. All the Scorcher now has still torrent, but a fixed number of shots. Instead of D6, they gave you the average of 3. So that's interesting. I'm interested to see how that shakes out, especially being that I run my aggressors as Flamestorm aggressors, you know, and I have a squad of Infernus Marines to put into my White Scars. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that shakes out. All right, Tank Busters. Love me some tank. I've always loved Tank Busters. I haven't. This is another reason why I stopped playing the orcs is because they changed around some of the units, like my Tank Busters. In order where before they just all had rockets, now I need a rocket pistol guy to lead my squad, and I have 5 regular rocket guys. Which, I mean, if I'm not doing WYSIWYG, you know, I could just as easily run it, but I need to get a pistol guy for that to be WYSIWYG. Technically, it's below average since on average D6 is actually 3.5. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So, Tank Busters and the knobs. 2 wounds on the Tank Busters, 3 on the knob. Hunter. Now, this is interesting. Okay, so Buster Rocket Launcher Standard and Hunter. Monster Vehicle Hunter. Okay. The standard attack is Strength 10 minus 2 attacks hitting on 4s. Oh, that's cool if they hit on 4s. Before, that was reserved. I don't remember them hitting on 4s. Again, it's been like since 9th edition, since I played orcs. I don't remember them hitting on 4s before. I remember that was like the thing Flash Kits used to do. But they hit on 4s now. And y'all orc players, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember them hitting on 4s before. They hit on 2 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 10, minus 2, 3 damage, which is pretty good. However, we all know most armor in the game now, especially for what tank hunters do, you know, they're supposed to be vehicle hunters. Most armor in the game is at least armor 10 to 12 now. That's why we rely so heavily on las cannon equivalents. But hunter monster vehicle mode, apparently if you're targeting a monster vehicle, it is now strength 12 minus 2 3 damage. That seems good for hunting vehicles to me. That is a 24-inch las cannon equivalent. I mean 3 flat damage instead of d6 plus 1, but you know what I mean. And then the rocket pistols, close quarters. No, I can get a smash hammer instead of my rocket pistol. One tank can be equipped with a rocket launcher or a pulsar rocket. What is a pulsar rocket? I don't see a pulsar rocket here, and I'm very curious. All right. So we got the chopper, we got the Git Sticker. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. That seems like an awful weapon. Why would you take that over a regular chopper? The hammer, your regular profile, hitting on 3s, 3 attacks, strength 7, -2, damage 2. If you're targeting a hunter, you're targeting a vehicle or monster, suddenly it's strength 12, -2, 3 damage. So much better, much better. Abilities, Rocket Barrage. In your shooting phase, when this unit has shot, select one enemy hit by those attacks. That unit makes a battle shock with -1 to the battle shock. Very nice. Bomb Squig, once per turn, twice per battle per unit. In your movement phase, when this unit ends a normal move, you can select one visible unit within 12. On 3+, it deals D3 mortal wounds. We always like it. Here's the Pulsar Rockets. Once per battle, it's an ability. Once per battle per unit. In your shooting phase, when this unit is selected to shoot, you can select one enemy monster or vehicle within 24 inches. If you do, this unit's attack that target the unit have. So it's the whole unit. +1 AP and lethal hits. Very nice. Hunter profiles are profiles that will be chosen when targeting a specified type of foe. Okay, as we inferred above, when they target specifically a hunt monster or vehicle. The new knobs. Definitely improvement. Absolutely. They're on 5s currently with options for re-rolls with the Big Mech. +1 to hit in certain detachments. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was that was different. Thank you for clearing that up. And then the Pulsar Rocket. I got there eventually, but thank you. I should have read your comment first. All right, the new knobs. I got to say, the new knob models look so good. They did a great job with the resculpt here. All right. Basically the same as above. Knobs having 3 wounds. Some of the same weapons that we looked at earlier. They also have the Big Choppa, which is 4 attacks. Hitting on 3, strength 7, -1 to AP. Custom Choppa, 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2 to damage. And then the Custom Crumpa. What is a Custom Crumpa? 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 10, -2 to damage. That's nice. All right, so we got Get Out the Way. Ability. When making a charge move, this can move through models excluding monsters or vehicles. That's cool. Just parting the seas of people to get where you're going. Ammo runs, giving them +1 to hit. Paired Crumpas. When this model's custom Crumpa, attacks made with this model's custom Crumpa can re-roll hit rolls and wound rolls. Very cool. What does a custom Crumpa look like? Kill the cans. I have been excited to play. So I haven't played my orcs since I converted up some kill cans, and so I'm excited to put them into a battle. And let's take a look at what this new profile looks like. We got 8-inch movement. We got T7. I don't know if any of that's different. We got a 3-up, 6-up. We got 5 wounds, leadership 8, and OC 2. Let's see. We got the Can Blasta. Blast 1 ignores cover. Sustain hits 1. Very cool. Because they're Grots, they hit on a 4+ with 4 attacks, strength 6 -1, 1 damage. Um, oh, all their weapons are blastas now. We got the DACA version. We got the kill shot, which is 2 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 10, -2, 3 damage. Okay, I guess that would be the rocket equivalent that they used to have. And then we got the point blank shot. That's the torrent blast 2. Okay, so this one is called point blank, but it doesn't have the close quarters ability. So, because in this case, point blank for them means within 12 inches. Okay. 3 attacks. Hit strength 5, -1, 1 damage. Okay. So it's basically the similar profiles to what they used to have, but doesn't matter what you model it with, they're all can blasters now. That's kind of cool. And then the can claw, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 8, -2, 3 damage. So they're not going to be hitting vehicles very hard in melee, like they could in 9th edition, but that's the change in toughness since then. I'm comparing to 9th edition, guys. I know there's been a whole edition since. I just never played my orcs in 10th edition. That's why you'll hear me keep referencing 9th edition. Spiteful Power Trip. This unit's attacks target a unit that has no models with a toughness of 7+, they have +1 to hit. Okay, so as long as you're targeting something with T6 or lower, they get +1 to hit. And that doesn't specify shooting or melee, so nice. You could be hitting on 3s most of the time if you plan correctly. That's cool. Like I said, I'm excited to play my Killicans because, I converted them, I painted them, I never used them. Custom Crumpet is a power claw, but can be represented with any big melee weapon. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Thank you. That is all the abilities here so far. And I am already past my normal time. We're going on to almost 9:30 now. And you know what? I'm having fun reading about orcs and getting stoked to pull them out, dust them off, and play them this edition. So we're moving on to knobs and war bikes. All right. Like I mentioned before, the new knob sculpts look fantastic. I have always liked this look of that a lot of miniatures do, where they have like the. Oh, right. I need to move my screen over. I just exited out the old screen and was like, that's all I need to do. All right. I love the new knobs. Giggity. Excited to pull up the knobs. I can't wait to pump them up on the battlefield. Pump them up with damage for other people. Yeah. I didn't make it weird. I've always loved this mixture here of like where they're wearing both pants and like the kind of like a battle kilt, like a trench coat with no top. It's always been a cool aesthetic in like fantasy and sci-fi. It's cool to see that here. This orc is very cool looking. I definitely love the new knob sculpts. I love looking at these knobs. I can't wait to put my hands on them. Again, another super cool knob. I love the helmet on this one, and of course this big ass axe. Now, so this is big and two-handed. Would this be the big chopper? I assume. That's probably a big chopper. I love his armor and his helmet, though. Very cool. I love the very Mad Max kind of goggles on this guy. And the I don't know if I would ever not put a melee weapon on a knob. However, this double shooting pose just looks so cool. Oh, then we got a Wolverine pose here. That's super cool. Although this bothers me. Why didn't they paint the eyes? Why are the eyes skin colored? Is he blind? There's no contrast here. Don't get me wrong. I can't paint as well as these guys. These guys are way better painters than me. This just looks like a, I don't know if this is a, a miss, or if they missed this, or if it's just an interesting design choice, but yeah, it just looks like they didn't paint the eyes. Yeah, there's a little red gleam in this guy's eyes, and this guy's eyes. I think it was just a miss. Sometimes, you look at your mini that you swore was done, and you're like, oh, I never painted this one detail. Again, these guys are much better painters than me. I could never paint to the, the GW team level. That just leapt out at me because, again, faces are a focal part of the model, right? And I noticed immediately, like, oh man, look at the detail that they put into the tongue and the teeth. And then I was like, wait a minute, these eyes. I love that they chipped and weathered all this yellow armor too. Scorcher looks cool. That was a really cool model. Definitely makes me want to put some flamers in my orcs. I don't think I own a single Scorcher for my orcs at all. No flamer weapons at all. All right. Well, they all look fantastic. I'm looking forward to painting some of those up. I love this helmet here. This is like RoboCop with mutton chops. Metal mutton chops. And then, of course, the iron jaw piece on knobs and stuff have always been pretty cool. And then we have the war bikers. I just realized my screen was still zoomed in. The new Warbike models look amazing, absolutely top tier. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I've disappointed you for the last time. My Kushanada brother, I'm sorry for disappointing you. I have explosions. That's why I have no flamers. Everywhere I could have taken a flamer, I took rockets instead. For explosions. All right, the new bikers look amazing. I love the horn. I love the aesthetic choices they went with them. The guns have mounted on the sides have always been there, but these look like rockets underneath them too. And I love the horns on them. They are such cool looking models. And again, I've always loved horned helmets. And anytime I say that, there's almost always one person that likes to tell me, that's historically inaccurate. Nobody ever actually wore horns on the helmets. I don't care. They look cool. And then he's got tiny horns on his helmets here. And I love the tusks at the front of the bike. Just all of these are so cool. I love the freaking biker chain, Ghost Rider style, swinging from his bike. Front plate looks cool. All of these bikes look cool. Now, however, I'm late to this party because I just learned to play 11th edition last weekend, and I was listening to the 11th edition changes. And I have a gripe. I'm going to switch over to the face cam for this. I have a gripe with the current edition. And that gripe is that while there's a lot of things this edition that favor melee, big models are punished in melee these days. And I love cavalry units. I own a Space Wolf army that I started literally because I saw the box of Thunderwolf cavalry. And cavalry, of course, are my favorite Space Wolves unit. I have a White Scars army because I wanted to be able to do biker cavalry. And obviously, the side of me that loves cavalry is going to want to put these sweet ass orc bikes into my orc army. And the best way to do that, if you're going to use these kinds of things in melee, is to bulk up the force so they can get in as many attacks as possible. The gripe I have is that this edition, there is no longer what they call supporting attacks, which in previous editions meant that, okay, engagement range was 1 inch away from your opponent's model. Okay, but combat ability was considered as long as you're within a base, within a base of engagement range. So if you're fighting in 2 rows, okay, what supporting attacks was that I am fighting this Iron Warrior here, okay, and if my guys were paired up in 2 rows, the guy in the front could get his attacks because he was in engagement range, the 1 inch, and this guy in the back could attack because he was within 2 bases. He was within a base of somebody in engagement range. Or as we often said it, a base within a base, right? Supporting attacks. This guy in the back can have a supporting attack against the Iron Warrior here. That was previous editions. This edition, engagement range is a flat 2 inches, which means these 2 guys will still be able to hit because these 2 bases happen to fit within the 2-inch engagement range. But if I have bigger bases, and I don't think I have any with me right this moment, I do actually. They're very old, and they have been beaten up across several moves. And actually, no, I only have one. Where did the other one go? Okay. Well, I don't have any models. Let's pretend, though, that these are bigger bases than they are. And I can just demonstrate a similar thing with these wolves. Okay? Pretend these are very tiny cavalry, okay? But you can see each of their bases is about 2 inches, okay? For that reason, only if let's say I'm in a very narrow hallway, only the front wolf will be able to attack because the back wolf is no longer in 2 inches. That means anything with a larger base is now very limited on who gets to swing in combat. And most of the times, especially with as dense as terrain is in modern 40K, that means in most tabletops, you will be very seldom be attacking with all of your units with a max size bike or cavalry squad in modern 40K. And like I said, I have at the very least 2 armies of cavalry. I have Space Wolf cavalry, a cavalry-based army, and I have a White Scars biker-based army. Biker bricks are now awful for melee now. Exactly. They are still useful in theory for, Raven Wingless are doing pretty well in tournaments right now for movement blocking and for capturing objectives, which is fine. That's not what I like about biker units. I love them being a cavalry unit that can absolutely get up in people's face. And so, obviously, melee has had a lot of buffs this edition, but they're very good for infantry-sized melee. So things like your Blade Guard are very good, your Black Templars are very good, Grey Knights, Brother Garrett are very good in melee. Your World Eaters, all of that's good. Head Takers, to use another wolf example. But yeah, it's if you're playing anything on a bigger base size, you are now being punished in melee, and I have a gripe with that because I've started 2 different
full-size armies based around this playstyle, and it's very frustrating to have that playstyle so hamstrung. Also, my custodies too. You know, I have two full units of bikers, and they're a little bit better off because they fly, so I can reposition their bikes a lot better, to try and get more in to melee. But if they're all in a narrow corridor, only the first row is going to be able to swing. So it's just like it is a frustrating part of this edition for someone who has created or collected in the manner that I have. Is that a me problem because I've chosen to collect bikes and cavalry? Yes, but also I can still be frustrated, I think. Especially since mounted models don't have the mobile. Yeah, exactly. Mounted models, bikes and cavalry, were already paying a tax in having to adapt their movement around terrain. There are some ways of getting around this. Saboden Khan and Samael can move their units through terrain using a special ability. The Saga of the Great Wolf for Space Wolves also has an ability that lets their cavalry move through terrain. But they're already having to spend an ability to do that, right? So in a way, these mounted units are already paying a tax by having to navigate around the terrain in a manner most melee units don't have to. But on top of that, now they can only get the first row of ranked fighters. So it is a gripe I have. We'll see if anything changes later on. Samuel just gives his unit mobile. Yeah, mobile, as in lets them drive through the terrain. Similar to Saboden. And then the Saga of the Great Wolf has an ability that says you can move through both the terrain and infantry. No, I'm sorry, terrain and enemy models, so I don't think it's limited to infantry. But yeah. All right, now that that gripe is over, I'll go back to the orcs. But I wanted to bring that up specifically because, the part of me that likes collecting a lot of mounted units, like these amazing looking war bikers, is going to want to put several of these bikes in my army, especially since I still have a Forge World biker boss that I love. I used to use him as a lone unit. It would be cool to have him leading a squad. And also, I have 6 Squighog cavalry. It would be nice to be able to, get in a bunch of these attacks. But again, so that means my orcs will have both bikes and cavalry that can only get 1 row of hits. I'm interested to see how they change the death killer rules. That'll be interesting to see. Absolutely. Each bike has a pair of dual Daka guns that are typically fired in long, uncontrolled bursts, strong enough to kick the war bike backwards, if not for the throttle being fully open at all times. The biker knob even gets a special upgrade of their own, strapping rockets to their guns for a bit of drive-by tank busting. Very cool. Oh, okay. Apparently my gripe was basically the end of the article. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, these bikes look amazing, and I definitely will want to put some in my army. So that way they can, I will finally have an escort for my Forge World biker knob. To run them with him, I will probably, unless I use Legends rules, have to run him as a Warp Trike, but you know what I mean. I'll get a chance to break out an old favorite model. All right. Army rules to get you riled up. We're looking at the army rule, the WAAAAAAAGH. Friendly orcs with this ability can re-roll advanced rolls. This is all the time. So this is a neat thing. WAAAAAAGH is now 2 parts. I mean, WA has pretty much always been two parts, right? There was the round you called it, and then there was the round after it. But this is a passive and active form of WA. So these are things that are passive; they're active all the time. Anybody with the WA Army rule can re-roll advance rolls, become riled up as stated in other rules, and then when a unit is riled up, they have the invul save of the WA, 5-up invul. They have assault on their ranged attacks, and when they advance, they can also advance. And that is a kind of convoluted way to say they get advance and charge. But yeah, they have assault, so that way they can advance and shoot and advance and charge. And then the active phase of WA, when you call the WA, or battle cry, as they now say, once per battle, that's when you get the riled up. When you do, they are riled up until the next turn. So, what's interesting here is that it was really cool before to have the extra attacks and what was it? It used to be +1 attack, +1 strength in the WA. The +1 attack has basically gone into many units' profiles. Many of the units now have +1 to attack all the time. Not all of them. So there are still some units that are losing that +1 attack in the WA. And then the +1 strength was also pretty cool. And that's just flat gone now. So some people say, it's a kind of a lateral move. Part of me still wants to do a Samael 6-man Black Knight unit with the command squad attached. Yeah, definitely. I love doing that with my white scars. I call them angelic scars now, or the scars of angels. But yeah, that is a fun tactic indeed. And at least with the Raven Wing, even if you're not getting as, you're doing a big Raven Wing blob like that is massively, massively hindered at melee. You're still getting mass plasma fire that's twin linked. So they're still very strong in that regard. Yeah, exactly. Just 10 plasma bikers darting around the board. Exactly. So, they're massively hamstrung in combat, but at least, having a massive plasma unit that's very mobile is very cool. And then getting all the benefits of, your command squad, the apothecary, the champion, it's all good stuff. Anyways, so yeah, I am, the WA is fine, I guess. I am, disappointed at losing out the strength. Oh, plasma talons aren't twin link anymore. But still, mass plasma shots. But yeah, so that's what they are. That's what the rule does. I lament the loss of the +1 strength and the units that don't get the +1 strength anymore. +1 attack anymore. Mega Knobs, their new rule is called Crumpin' Time. If this unit is riled up, it has +1 to hit rolls. We don't see a full sheet for them. Some units, as you know, get 2 rules. Hopefully this doesn't change their current rule. Currently, their rule is that they get a 5-up Feel No Pain in the WA? Feel No Pain is always good. It is cool to get +1 to hit. But if this is their only special rule, they lose the Feel No Pain. That's I think that'll be a serious downgrade, especially since if you're running him, let's be honest, Mega Knobs are often the favored escort of choice for Ghazghul. And if they're within range of Ghazghul anyways, they're already going to have the +1 to hit. You can't get +2 to hit. So
that would really just be a blank and pointless ability if they're with Ghaz. And if they lose their Feel No Pain for that, that's going to be, I'm not going to lie, that's going to be not good. That's going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be trash, because there's every chance that, you know, they'll have more than one ability. But if they have just a flat redundant ability and they take away the Feel No Pain, I'm not going to, it won't be, I'm not going to be negative about it, but I really hope that they don't. Or I'm not going to be more negative about it. Anyways, we're going to move on to something that has gotten a glow up. It's the Stompa. In this edition, the Stompa is 600 points. I don't know for these glow ups it'll stay 600 points, but that definitely shows that we've all known that the Stompa has been overcosted for a long time. Coming down to 600 points, very nice. Let's see what they're getting with the Codex. Maybe we get 4 wounds. I mean, yeah. I think I'd rather have the Feel No Pain than 4 wounds. I'm not sure. You know, it's, we'll see. We'll see. I guess, I don't know. Having 4 wounds, you get that extra wound all the time. Having Feel No Pain during the WAAAAAAAGH, only 1 or 2 turns. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's a bit better. I don't know. All right, but we're going to go move on to the positive stuff here with the Stompa. So, like I said, cheaper now, 600 points. Don't know if it'll stay that way in the Codex. Movement 10, toughness 14. 14. Even your tried and tested las cannons will be wounding this on a 5. Okay, that's a good statistical analysis. So I good with the numbers there. But yeah, so a lot of your trusted anti-tank, I think even, and I could be wrong, but I think even my beloved Repex cannon is only 14, strength 14. So even then, you're winning on 4s. Sonic is picking up what I'm laying down. Hey, you guys are good with the numbers. I am. Oh man, I forgot to switch the screen again. I haven't been showing you guys any of this. I am notoriously the world's only Asian that is bad with math. So, I said share screen. There we go. There we go. Okay, this was the WA rule we were looking at. This was the Crumpin time. +1 to hit. So even if they do get 4 wounds, I think still having an ability that is basically negated or redundant by having Ghaz around is still kind of, I don't know. It's still a pointless change, I think. All right. Anyways, movement 10, toughness 14. Like I said, even most of the big boy weapons, not all of them. There's still definitely like the Vanquisher and other weapons that'll still be able to wound this a little easier. But on most of even your big boy weapons, this is going to be wounding on 5s. On top of that big toughness 14, you got a 5-up invul, 2-up save. You got 30 wounds. Now, it does get degraded at 10 wounds, which is going to be bad for all those shooting weapons hitting on 5s. It'll be up to 6s. It just means Mega Knobs can operate away from that. They can. It's just they often are bodyguard figures that move around with Ghaz. I guess that, like you said, it does free them up to not be his bodyguard, but
But yeah, Meganobs have always been the thematic go-to as his bodyguards. So we're going down to OC 12 and Leadership 6. I guess I'd be brave if I was sitting in this massive Daka Fortress as well, with all this toughness 14 armor, 30 wounds. Ghaz isn't a leader anymore, so they could be more than 6 inches away. We don't know what War Boss in Mega Armor or Big Mecha Mega Armor do now. So that +1 could get cheeky if, say, a ballistic skill bonus happens instead. Fair enough. Fair enough. Where was I? Oh yeah, OC 12. That is big for any vehicle, especially this big ass, super durable Stompa, which is great. The big shooter has, of course, the traditional lethal hits, 3 attacks. We already know what that does. The death cannon, though, and the super rockets, I guess it's all together as one on that big ol' arm here. It is 72 inches. You can hit the table next to you if you want. It's got 12 attacks, hitting on 5s, of course. Strength 14, -3, D6 +2 damage. Really nice. Of course, the hitting on 5s is still tough. But was Ghaz Ork's infantry units or just Ork units? I think it was Ork's infantry units. Wouldn't it be great to just have Ghaz next to this guy, giving him +1 to shoot? Like 12 attacks, though, at strength 14, -3, D6 +2. It's like you're not going to hit with a lot of those, but those that connect are going to be very tasty. It's got a Scorcher that's Blast 2 plus Torrent. We got the Super Gatla, the aimed mode, which is 24 inches, 30 shots, strength 5. Hitting on 5, strength 7, -2, 2 damage. And if you're point blank within 12 inches, you got your 3d6 +3 auto hitting, strength 7, -2, 2 damage. Very nice. And then you've got the Mega Chopper. So once they're within torrent range, they're ready for a charge, and you can cleave them. Cleave 4. Every 5 models, you're going to be throwing in 4 more dice from adding on to your base attacks of 6, hitting on 3s, strength 24. Oh my God, strength 24. That is crazy. -4 AP and 10 damage per hit. Whew. That is gorgeous. Let's see what they do ability-wise. First of all, I love this WAAAAAAAGH effigy. This unit is always riled up. Oh yeah, Ghaz's aura is only in melee. You're right. Double Stompa meta after the Codex. Go. So always riled up. They are always ready. They are always DTF. Idle belligerents in your movement phase. When a unit is embarked makes a disembark unit. That unit is also riled up. So this guy's just like Makari. This guy's giving out. He's always in the wall, and he's giving out free wall. That is nice. What's his transport capacity? He's transport 22 Orcs infantry. That is nice. You can throw out a max size Orc squad plus a leader and plus a support. Or you could go Mega Armor or Jetpack models take up 2 spaces. Ghazghul takes up 4 spaces. That is cool. This model is equipped with 5 big shooters, 1 Death Cannon, 1 Super Rockets, 1 Mega Chopper, 1 Scorcher, and 1 Super Cat. Very cool. And that is all of my Orc previews, guys. Oh yeah, never choosing strike or swiping again is magical because you are always going to get the cleave ability and you are always hitting like a truck. So yeah, that you are always both striking and swiping. That is cool. And on top of that, if you did have a horde mode, likely your super gather would clean up a whole bunch of those before you get into combat anyways. With that 3d6 plus 3 auto hitting. That is so nice. Oh man, do I need a Stompa from my orcs? Is that something that needs to come up? I don't know. I don't know. Oh man. Guys, let's be serious, okay? What I'm seeing is orc players no longer have to declare the WAAAAAAAGH. That you're just always in the WAAAAAAAGH. It's like that Hulk meme. You know, what's your secret to making yourself angry? That's my secret. I'm always in the WAAAAAAGH. I'm always in the WAAAAAAGH. So definitely between Stompa handing out free WAAAAAAGH, plus you can declare WAAAAAAGH during one turn, plus the Makari handing out free WAAAAAAGH when he wants, whenever he wants. That's a lot of free WAAAAAAGH going on. There's definitely like that's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. Oh yeah, Stompa is always turbocharged now, so you can always advance and shoot with the Stompa for no penalty. You can always advance and charge with the Stompa with that big ass cleaver of his. What is that? He moves 10 and you get free advance and charge all the time. That is so cool. The biggest orc model I've painted so far was the Mecha Dread before it went to Legends, which was cool. I gotta say, yeah, I have. Oh yeah, plunging fire comes into play with the Stompa too because it has the towering keyword. So if they're aiming at ground units, they'll be hitting on 4s, which will make it better. That's nice. That is nice. I love the look of my Mecha Dread. It's a shame. It happens to me so many times where I finally getting around to painting up a thing, and then it goes to Legends, or sometimes it gets nerfed. It's just like, oh, I'm taking My Name is Jeff to a double tournament next week. I've never wanted a codex to be in tomorrow more in my life. Oh man, that would be awesome. It's a shame that you'll have to be playing pre-codex. Man, the new stuff, the new Ghaz, the new Stompa look amazing. I am super hyped about that. I like I said, I sat out with my orcs all last edition, and I think it is time to put them back on the table. And who knows? Definitely, or maybe adding some bikes, maybe adding a Stompa to them at some point. I'm pretty stoked, guys. Plunging is a ballistic skill modifier. Mech bonus could bring it down further if it's ballistic skill. Oh, okay. So you put a mech with it. You could possibly get it hitting on 3s, hitting like Space Marines all of a sudden. That would be cool. Unless they change in the codex mech to also ballistic skill. Because we can never count out something changing in the new codex. Mech boy, loan up. Add 1 to the hit roll. Okay. So if they don't change the way mechs work, then we should be fine and get him hitting on 3s. Don't get too excited yet. There's still plenty of time for the codex to screw you. But it is possible it'll be hitting on 3s. And when you can go from like hitting on 5s to darn near guaranteeing hitting on 3s, minus terrain, of course, obviously playing around the terrain is always something to consider now that we're at -1 terrain. That was definitely something to get used to in my first game, was the, being less reliable to hit with cover, and, the AP1 still matters a lot. True, but don't you dare put that in the universe. If the mech boy gets changed too much with the update, I'm coming for you. My bad. I didn't say anything. I've never said anything in my life. There's no proof I've ever said anything anywhere on any content ever. All right. Well, guys, that is all the changes. I'm excited for all the changes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight and talking about the orcs. I went into this stream like, oh, that'll be neat. Maybe I'll bring out my orcs sometime this edition. Now I know I'm definitely bringing out my orcs sometime in this edition. I do want my next game to be Knights, because like I said, for the first time, I am 1 knight away from a full 2K list, or half a knight now that I've got him half painted up. So I do want to do that. But I'm excited to play some orcs, and like I said, they've sat on the shelf a whole edition now. So yeah, let's put them on the table at some point, guys. Thanks for joining me. If you guys like tonight's episode, please make sure that you grab up an ox and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. Drop me some comments down below. Feel free to be part of tonight's ridiculous conversations. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to my brother Rob over at the Miniatures Paintbrush, or maybe my channels down below in the recommended channels of the week, then I would love for you guys to give them a subscribe. Be part of the pack here, Wolfbrother Hobbies. And until next time, guys, stay frosty. Stack up like a flame. Whoa!